The BC Energy Step Code gradually raises the energy efficiency of new construction across the province by providing steps for projects to meet. As a leader in sustainability, the City of Surrey opted to reach the Passivhaus standard for the new Clayton Community Centre, which is considered the highest step of the BC Energy Step Code. Passivhaus requirements are unique in that designers, engineers, and builders must rely on passive components to bring down the overall net energy output.
This is the first of its kind in the region and in North America. We had issues with the procurement of supplies and contractors that actually understood Passivhaus. We put a lot of the onus on Ellis Don, who was our construction manager, to make sure that the Passivhaus criteria was all covered with the subtrades.
Yeah, so we were very comfortable being involved early in the project. We were able to set up management controls to manage the budget, drive design details and constructability. Our biggest challenge was communicating to the trade community the requirements of Passivhaus. I think it's very important to have consistency through the specifications and design details, educating those subtrades about how the requirements impacted their work.
Quite often during construction, there'll be substitutions and there'll be requests for changes of products. It's very challenging to do that on a Passivhaus project because every single new or change in a product has to be re-inputted into that PHBP model and tested for performance.
With Passivhaus, you don't want to change too much because when you change one thing, it affects another and so on and so forth. So the alternates were very limited. Having a strong team early on during the design phase to work through that to eliminate those needs.
Ellis Don used physical construction mock-ups to demonstrate the building features for subcontractors.
So they took a kind of a piece and they brought together what they thought were all the complex components.
Our subtrades were able to come in as well and put their input into what they felt was challenging.
It was a different way of doing things on the job site, but it's actually the right way to be doing things.
An airtight envelope is a critical feature to make the Passivhaus certification.
Part of what is required for Passivhaus is that there is an airtightness of the envelope in the finished product, and there are two tests that happen on site. And for a building as enormous as Clayton, it took a lot of collaborative team effort amongst all the trades and Ellis Don to actually make sure that there's no damage to the envelope.
Recognizing early on that airtightness was a large deliverable, it's always important to plan early on into our schedule and into our budget. Being involved early, we were able to do that.
In order to execute a good airtightness test, it requires a lot of planning. It starts with the memo being sent with all the requirements leading up to the actual test, and then the equipment needed from the contractor to perform that test, and then it requires the site to be vacated because the whole envelope needs to be closed up. That initial air leakage test is a really important gauge for the contractor. It's a bit of an unknown how tight this building is going to be. And so if we can just close up the building and test it as soon as possible, we can kind of create a baseline for where that building is at. We can even take one step back and do partial building air leakage testing. In the end, the final test will likely have different numbers than the initial test. It's just from the initial test to the final test, there still needs to be continued monitoring of the air barrier tightness. And so conversations that are had with, say, the subtrades, there's more like understanding that, oh, this is actually required.
In 10 years from now, this is going to be the norm for the industry.
The City of Surrey is really proud that we are setting a precedent with this project.
Projects like Clayton are really, they're changing the market.
It's good that we can set the stage with Clayton Community Centre that it is possible, it is achievable, and there's no problem too big to overcome.